Last night, we got some insane breaking news coming from Arizona's 7th congressional district, which held a special election last night. The Democrat, of course, in the safe blue seat, Arizona 7th, the daughter of the U.S. representative who died earlier this year, Raul Grijalva, this is Adelita Grijalva, she will fill this seat. Raul died earlier this year. He was the congressman from this district. There was a Democratic primary, and his daughter came out the winner. Now, this is a huge win in and of itself. That's almost a 40-point victory for the Democratic Party in this seat. But it does get quite a bit more insane when you look deeper into the numbers. When you look back to 2024 at how this seat voted, if you take all the presidential election votes from the seat, you will find that Kamala Harris won the seat by 22 percentage points. So again, a safe Democratic seat nonetheless. Raul Grijalva won in 2024 by 27%, so he outperformed Harris by 22. But keep that number in mind, 22%. And remember, last night, the Democrat Adelita Grijalva won by just about 40%, 39% to be more exact. So it went from Harris plus 22 to Grijalva plus 39. Guys, that is a 17-point overperformance for the Democrat in this race compared to 2024. So this continues with a common theme that we are seeing in all of these special elections nationwide. I mean, we're seeing it really all across the country, red states, blue states, and swing states alike. And that's the fact that Democrats are energized. Democrats are turning out to vote, even in these, off year, low propensity special elections that typically don't get much turnout. Democrats are still turning out at least at a much higher rate than Republicans. Not only are Democrats incredibly energized to go out and vote, Republicans are just staying home. They are not turning out. It doesn't look like they're necessarily switching to the Democratic side, but they are not turning out to vote in too high of numbers. And that should be extremely concerning for the party looking ahead to 2024. And again, I'm sorry, to the 2026 midterms. And this is, you might notice this seat is, relatively large. Arizona is a pretty large state, and this District 7 covers a wide portion of it. Really, from the west coast of the state almost all the way to the east coast. Much of this is a very rural seat. It covers some of Phoenix, a little bit of Phoenix in Maricopa County. It gets most of Tucson. It covers about half, but a slim majority of Tucson, and then a little bit of Yuma on the west coast of the state. And then in between is just all rural country. I mean, look, in this huge portion of land, you only have about 7,000 votes. In Pima County, this is, I think, basically all of Pima County, almost all, which has Tucson in it. Only about 60,000 votes in this huge swath of land. So point being, when you look at some of these districts, and even these incredibly rural precincts, districts, or counties, I should say, even exemplary in this Arizona special election, Democrats are outperforming. This is not just a blue area sort of thing. Even in these deeply rural, in some cases, in some of these precincts, deeply Republican precincts, Democrats are seeing that same trend. So ultimately, this means that even deep red states are going to be in play probably looking ahead at the 2026 midterms. And just look at this example. You've got this precinct highlighted in white here with a border of white that I have highlighted. Now look at that. There are only 41 votes in this district, so please take this with a grain of salt. But this goes for so many of these rural precincts. I just brought this one up as an example. And when you have lots of this, like what I'm about to compare it to, it starts to add up, and it starts to add up to a monumental shift towards the Democrats in this election. So anyway, in this precinct 007 of Yuma County, or what was it? I forget. Pinal County, whatever. Grijalva won 21 votes to the Republicans 20. Okay, 51% to 49%. No big deal. Now compare that same exact precinct, right? In 2024, how did they vote? They gave 40 votes to Donald Trump and they gave 26 to Kamala Harris. Donald Trump won this precinct by, and there's only 67 votes total in 2024. He won it by a margin of 60, just about to 60 to 39, a 21-point margin in this one single precinct in Arizona. And again, 21, and now it flips to the Democrat. And even still, look at that margin. It is not that much of a decrease in turnout. You had 41 votes total in 2024, and you had 67 votes total in 2026. Most people who voted in 2024 are turning out in 2025 right now. That is pretty stunning in such a, special elections, especially in a safe seat for either party. Nobody turns out in special elections. But what we're seeing is that Democrats, no matter the importance of the race, they are turning out to send a symbolic message to Donald Trump in Washington to oppose what they are doing. Kamala Harris got 26 votes out of 67 in 2024. 26. With a third lower turnout, the Democrat in this race got 5 votes less than Harris. She got 21 votes. That means almost all but 5 of the 26 people who came out to vote for Harris in 2024 are voting for the Democrat, who turned out to vote for the Democrat in this race, even in such a rural precinct where it is probably hard to get to your polling station. And again, that's very anecdotal because there were literally 41 votes in this precinct last night. But I mean, the data is clear as day. The district as a whole, as I said, shifted. What did I say? 17 points towards the Democratic Party last night. Is that quite the 22? Did I say 22-point overperformance in this one single precinct? Pretty much, it's almost there. 17 to 22. They might as well be right there. So that again, that's just one precinct, but it happened so often last night. I mean, look at some of these margins. The Republican didn't get a single vote in this precinct, 003. The Grijalva got 110 votes in precinct 138 in Arizona last night. The Republican got 4. She got 41 votes in precinct 135. The Republican got 0. She got 35 votes in precinct 071. Last night, the Republican got 0. 211 to 16. 79 to 2. 33 to 2. So, and even in 2024, in a lot of these precincts, Harris is not quite getting there. The margins do get slim, but take take this precinct, for example, 076. Grijalva got 79 votes last night, 96%. The Republican got 2, which is 2%. In 2024, Harris got 89%. Donald Trump got 10%. So when you have margins like that, going from 2024 to a special election like 2026, no matter how small the margins, if that's happening in all of these precincts, then that adds up very, very quickly. So Democrats should be, hoping for something like of that effect in 2026. Turn out Democrats. It doesn't matter if it's in heavily populated blue areas. It doesn't matter if it's in these sparsely populated, incredibly Republican, incredibly rural counties. Turn out Democrats because Republicans, this is being proven time and time again, Republicans are starting to disapprove of this administration. There's always that 33% that are going to support Trump no matter what, but there is still a very good amount of Republicans who chose Donald Trump, or not even Republicans, just voters who voted for Donald Trump in 2024 because he compared the two choices and thought he was better. Maybe slightly better, maybe a lot better than Kamala Harris, but they chose him because he was better, not because they are under a cult of personality. Those are the voters that are going to stay home in 2026. It's not even like they have to win over Democrats, because honestly, a lot of these people are never going to vote Democrat in their life. Unless, there's some revolution within the Democratic Party, which does desperately need to happen. But as long as Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are leading the Democratic Party, you're going to have these white working class voters just never vote for the Democratic Party. But that doesn't mean that they won't stay home for the Republicans in 2026. That is what will win Democrats the 2026 midterms, is if enough Republicans choose to stay home, say, this Trump administration is not as good as I thought. They are not fulfilling their promises. I will not reward them in the midterms. Why should I turn out? If that happens across the board, which I think it will, all Democrats have to do in that case is turn out their base. Less voters, on average, vote in midterm elections, obviously, than presidential elections. What Democrats need to do is simply turn out their base in these rural areas, in these urban areas, in these Democratic liberal areas, or these Republican conservative areas. Democrats just need to turn out. And I think that Republicans, these disaffected independent Trump voters, Republicans who are disaffected with this administration not turning out, they will do the rest of the work. So, quite an interesting race last night. And I want to point out something that I think is extremely important. Also, again, this is not a one off, by the way. I mean, this is happening across the board. On average, this was before this Arizona special election. That'll probably shift it even more. But on average, in these special elections, whether it be state house, state senate, special mayoral elections, special congressional elections, Democrats on average are outperforming 2024 by 13% on average. We saw this in Iowa Senate District 1, a district that voted for Donald Trump by 11%, voted for the Democrat in this special election by 11%. That is a 20-point swing, 22-point swing to be exact, towards the Democratic Party. This has happened in special elections in Connecticut, in Ohio, in Georgia, in Alabama. It is simply across the board. Democrats continue to outperform. And the thing is, we use that sort of logic, sorry, to argue that Harris would, during 2024, we said that proved that many people said that Harris would win the presidential election because of what these special elections were indicating. But what do we know? The general election, many lower propensity voters turn out, which means voters who turn out for elections less often. But they are going to turn out for the big presidential election. But midterm elections are where lower propensity voters turn out. These voters are the ones who tend to be Democratic. Those are the voters who are turning out in these special elections. So while it will be a race, of course, and the Senate is still up in the air, the House is almost certain to go to the Democrats at this point. Um, Democrats should, really have high hopes. But what you're looking at here is if every single district voted 5 points more Democratic from 2024. This is the results in each House of Representatives race in 2024 shifted 5% more Democratic. What do you see? Democrats take a clear majority, 230 seats. Republicans at just 205. That's a lot of wiggle room for Democrats there in the Senate. And they have, there are many more flips, even from here, Democrats could take. Tom Keene in New Jersey. You've got many North Carolina districts that are likely. That's obviously a sign of gerrymandering. Anna Paulina Luna in Florida. Lauren Boebert is sort of close. Oh, Montana's first district with Ryan Zinke. He could be ousted there too. That would get really close. John James, he's retiring. That could be a pretty easy flip for Democrats there. So I think that Democrats will do even better than this, but it just goes to show, again, they are outperforming their special elections compared to 2024 by 13% right now. Special elections very well correlate with midterm elections, how the generic ballot ends up in November in midterm elections. So if it is anything near 13%, then they will exceed this 230 number. Again, 5% is being generous to the Republicans. Democrats are probably going to outperform by, something more like 7 or 8 points, which would be here. We could actually do it right now. This would be the 7 point trend towards the right. You would have um, now, yeah, 245 to 190. You would have Lauren Boebert lose. You would have Montana's first flip. You would have a Democrat winning in Alaska by a likely margin. You would have this coastal seat in Virginia come out till that never happens. And then that's almost landslide territory there in California. Or why did I say California? There in the House, 245 to 190. It would be a massive blowout for the party. That's just 7 points. Could you imagine if they did 30 points? Let's look at that right now. I'm sorry, 13 points. Like this poll, like the average of special elections. Whoops. Like the average of special elections indicates, Democrats are winning or overperforming 2024 by 13% on average. So what if every seat becomes 13 points more Democratic in 2024? Can this work, please? Oh my God. There it is. And just look at that. 249 seats for the Democrats, 186 for the Republicans. A blowout. I mean, this would just enter territory like never seen before for the Democrats since, Clinton at least. Or actually 2008, they won more than this. So that's all they have to do. Turn out Democrats, let Republicans or disaffected Trump voters stay home. One more note. This goes to show leftism is certainly not a weakness and probably a strength. Adelita Grijalva is the daughter of one of the most progressive House members ever, Raul Grijalva. She is, she's very, DSA-esque, right? She's got, I'm sure she doesn't call herself a socialist, but when it comes to rhetoric and her political positions, she does align with democratic socialism in many ways when it comes to the economy. She is strongly pro-Palestine, and very strong advocate for those in Gaza. And look at that. I thought, the Democratic establishment has been telling us this whole time. The majority of people are pro-Israel. That will destroy any campaign in wherever, in a swing state or wherever. That is not something to campaign on. What do you know? Adelita Grijalva. And this was same with Zoran in New York City. Zoran did not win in spite of his pro-Palestine position. Polls show he won because of it. Because a strong majority of Democratic voters are now much more sympathetic, we'll say, to the Palestinian cause than they are to the Israeli cause. Whatever that Israeli cause is. So it just goes to show everything we have been told about leftism, about specifically the issue of Gaza by the Democratic establishment has been obviously dishonest. I mean, we knew that, and just plain wrong. It is actually proving to be a strength. If that was so much of a weakness in in an election, being unapologetically on the left of the political spectrum, then Adelita Grijalva would not have overperformed Kamala Harris in 2025 this year, last night. But you know what is a weakness? When you have establishment corporate Democrats running who don't believe in anything, who don't have a principled set of beliefs like progressives like Adelita Grijalva or Raul Grijalva or Zoran Mamdani. Why do you think Raul Grijalva outperformed Kamala Harris on the same exact ballot in 2024 by 5 points? When you have candidates like Kamala Harris running who don't believe in anything and just are a mouthpiece for her donors, for their corporate donors and what corporations want them to say, that is what is weak is the weakness in an election. It doesn't matter. What I've noticed is that it doesn't even matter what you say. People like to see someone who believes in something. Zoran Mamdani, Adelita Grijalva, Donald Trump specifically in 2016. He looked like, he was unapologetically against the political system. That was his thing. He wasn't afraid to say, build the wall and he wasn't afraid to be incredibly racist on a debate stage. And unfortunately, that is what people like. So take that as a lesson. Why do you think she outperformed so much? Democrats need to run more candidates like her. So thank you all for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to subscribe down below. That helps out a lot. Drop a comment also to let me hear what your thoughts are on this. Drop a like so this video gets promoted more in the algorithm. And I'll see you all later.